तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमां विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशे तारिणे। So we are speaking from verse Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 8th chapter, verse number 40. So I will share my screen. Ime janapada shraddha, sorry. Ime janapada sfriddha supakava supakavaushadhi virudha vanadri nadi udan vanto hi edante tava vikshitaiha. Synonyms or word to word meanings. Ime, all these, Janapada, cities and towns, Sriddhaha, flourished, Supakva, mature, Aushadhi, herbs, Vishuddhaha, vegetables, Vana, forests, Adri, hills, Nadi, rivers, Udanvantaha, seas, he, certainly, Edhante, increasing, Tava, by you, Vikshitaiha, seen. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts, such as grains and vegetables, fruits, rivers, the hills of jewels and minerals, and the seas full of pearls, are supplied by the order of the Supreme, and as He desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. The natural law is that the human being may take advantage of these godly gifts by nature and satisfactorily flourish on them without being captivated by the exploitative motive of lording it over material nature. The more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims of enjoyment, the more we shall become entrapped by the reaction of such exploitative attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables, and herbs, then what is the necessity of running a slaughterhouse and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river waters fertilizes the fields, and there is more than what we need. Minerals are produced in the hills, and the jewels in the ocean. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, milk, etc., then why should it hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of the labor of some unfortunate men? But all these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of the Lord and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. The indications by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon them so that natural prosperity be maintained by His grace. So, Om Jnana Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So we see here that uh, Kunti Devi is praying to Lord Krishna, and as the translation says, she is making different cases for or requesting him to stay. And here she is talking that all these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and the grains are in abundance, the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the ocean full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. So the main point is we are happy here. Everyone is flourishing, everything is flourishing, and that is because of your glancing over them. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about how everything is already arranged for, is already provided for, and we need not unnecessarily um, work to become prosperous or to gather things that we need. And that actually reminds me of the Ishopanishad verse, the Ishopanishad invocation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. The translation is, the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is complete whole, and though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So, the reason why I thought of connecting this with the Ishopanishad invocation is because here, like Srila Prabhupada is saying, that everything is provided by the Lord, by Krishna, And these big industries and factories that we are producing, it's basically a godless civilization, because that is artificial means of trying to increase our sense enjoyment, but in fact everything is already provided for. So this invocation, Ishopan's invocation, says that because the Lord is complete, everything he produces is also complete in itself. And an example like comes, not an example, or the way to understand this is, whatever we or the human beings or the living entity create, so-called create, because there is no creation. Things are already created by the Lord. The basic elements are already there, and we simply transform them. However, we may call it creation or transformation, but they are never complete in themselves. For example, when a motor car, an automobile is made, however efficient it may be, it still needs external energy to run. The ideal case would be that the car run on by itself. For example, things are already available in the nature. For example, air, oxygen, all of it is available. So it could potentially take it and consume it, and the byproduct is also s- um, sent in the atmosphere or within cycle immediately. This would be the perfect invention or perfect product. But that's not the case. It needs to extract externally gasoline, or now the new revolution is coming with electric vehicle. It needs batteries and so many other things. And it the car needs maintenance periodically. It needs to be taken to the garage to fix and all of that. And after that, we are able to use it. However, if we look at the creation of the Lord or Krishna, everything is self-sufficient. When he says complete, everything is self-sufficient. The living entities or the humans, we breathe in oxygen, we take out carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is used by the trees, which use it to produce energy. With the energy is then used to by the plants for consumption of everything, because everything persists on the plants or the grains. Grains are also produced by the plants. So it produced by taking water, um, which also is produced by the rains, taken from the ocean, taken up, evaporating with the distilled water, the water minus the salt, and then it flows down, and the plants take it. The herbs and plants take the water. The carbon dioxide that is produced is there, and it produces food for everything. Even the meat that people eat is produced. Ultimately, the plants are the source of that. And then they take the carbon dioxide and also emanate or produce the oxygen, which is again needed by the living entities. So we can see how efficiently the whole cycle is there. And it keeps on working unless again we interfere. And we, meaning the human civilization, just to satisfy our sense gratification, we have a tendency to interfere in all of these and create these big industries which produces so much of waste. And Prabhupada, I was listening to a lecture on this verse, and he was saying that the rivers are meant to be clean, and none of the rivers that are there around the world, he said, he gave examples of the rivers he saw in Germany, France, the Hudson River in New York. None of the rivers are clean because we dump so many things in the river. And why do we dump? Because we are wasting, we are so much of we are creating so much of byproducts by trying to exploit nature. And then where to dump? And the right, or the not right, but the easiest place is the rivers, because they are flowing and they will take the byproducts or the poisons and things like that and distribute it in other places, not in my area where I'm dumping. So that's what Srila Prabhupada was talking. And these things have effects, negative effects on other things, even though we may not be immediately be able to see. Another example he talks very strongly about is the need for the slaughterhouses. Why do we need slaughterhouses when so much abundant food and grains is available? That is the real food anyways, because even the animals, they need food, the grains, and then they are able to produce meat. And then he was talking about an interesting, I thought it was an interesting um, way of explaining that the animals also that depend on the meat, they do not get continuous flow of their food. For example, a lion or a tiger, it gets to kill an animal only when in 1 or 2 weeks, and then it has to hide the dead body and keep eating little by little. And the reason why interesting was because he was explaining how the grass and plants are easily available, and the animals that are vegetarian or that eat grass and plants, they get to eat anytime and every day because it's freely available. However, the tigers and lions who depend on meat, they have to wait for weeks sometimes before they can they are they can get an animal, because nobody is going to go in the mouth of the tiger or the lion saying that, oh, you are hungry, here, take my body, please use my body to satisfy your hunger. That's not the case. Everyone tries to protect their lives, and therefore it's very hard. And the way Srila Prabhupada explains is that even that meat is given to the animal by the will of Krishna, when it is like completely hungry, and it puts in a lot of effort to chase an animal, and then it's able to capture one, and which is what he can then eat. So I thought that example was interesting. I never thought from that perspective. Next point is Srila Prabhupada also goes into talking how, like, he's referring to verse number 9.10 in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is the source of everything. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa chara acharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. So the material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So Krishna is saying that this material nature, which we just talked about, which is self-sufficient in itself, producing everything that is required for the not just human beings but for all living entities, is one of the energies of him, and is working under his direction. No wonder it is so efficient, and it is complete in itself. And he's saying that everything, not just the living entities, but suyatesa chara acharam, which means the moving and the non-moving. So generally things move because, not generally, they move only when there is a living entity within matter. And acharam means non-moving, so stones and hills and things that don't move, even plants which are living entity don't move, but everything is created by the Lord. And going further into Prabhupada's purport, he says that the specific examples like the natural gifts, grains, vegetable, fruits, hills of jewels and minerals, seas full of pearls are supplied. So there are all facilities are given, even including becoming prosperous. So, for example, why do we exploit the nature? Why do we exploit so many things? So that we can satisfy our greed, we can satisfy our sense gratification, or increase our sense gratification. So what Prabhupada is saying, that yes, that is there by because of karma. There will be some of the population or human beings which will enjoy opulences, but these opulences are also provided by the nature. For example, the pearls are there in the sea. The oysters produce pearls, and by getting them, they are extremely valuable. There are gold, silver jewelry, and so many other things. So what is the need to unnecessarily exploit the material nature? But here the main point is, Kunti Devi is saying that all of this is produced, or and this the everything is flourishing, or everything is prosperous because of your glancing over them. Srila Prabhupada also talks about the glancing mechanism. I'll quickly, briefly go over it. So, glancing means that it is also mentioned in the Brahma Samhita that only simply by glancing of the Lord, this whole material universes or material creation is produced. So, glancing means impregnating, and the Lord can impregnate the living or anything by any part. So simply with his eyes he can impregnate, and simply, and so un, sorry, versus the humans or the limited living entities, there are specific functions. So here also Kunti Devi is saying that because his glance is there, all the cities and villages are flourishing and are prospering. And similarly, he also said that when we become Krishna conscious, Krishna's glance is there. He's happy to see us, and through his glance, everything else is also prosperous and provided for. So be Krishna conscious, because that's where Krishna's interest is. He will glance to see what the devotees are doing. His glance is not there what the others are doing, uh, which are against his will or against his intention. So main point that Srila Prabhupada makes is that be Krishna conscious and gain the glance of Krishna, and everything will be provided for. Everything will be nice. So there's no need to do or engage in other artificial or exploitation methods. So I will stop here to quickly summarize. Kunti Devi is praying that the she's making different cases, and for Krishna to remain in Mathura with the Pandavas, because they have gained so much, even though they had to go through so many difficult situations and miseries. Because Krishna was with them, they were able to get his association. And here the case is that because he's with them, everything is flourishing and everything is prosperous. And if he leaves, everything will be gone, so please stay here. And Prabhupada talks about the unnecessary need to for this industrialization, or creating this gigantic industrial enterprises, which are which are basically a godless civilization. And they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The aim of human life is spiritual progress, but they destroy that very aim. And I discussed the Ishopanishad invocation verse, that everything is complete because the Lord is complete. Whatever he produces is also complete. So Krishna, everything that he produces, the material world and uh, the things that are provided for, everything is complete, and we need not make extraneous effort to gain something. Then I talked about the verse number 9.10, Bhagavad Gita Maya Dakshana Prakriti. So Krishna is the source of everything, whether it is moving or non-moving, achara or acharam. And this understanding that we should understand that since Krishna is the source of everything, rely on Krishna and be self-sufficient. Have faith that he will provide everything, not just have blind faith, but we can see that everything has been provided for. So uh, execute that faith and live in that faith. And then I ended with talking about the even when there are certain human beings, by their own karma, they are supposed to flourish, they are supposed to enjoy opulences, and they are already provided by the nature in terms of these valuable minerals, or gold and silver ornaments. Ornaments can be made, of course, but the metal and the pearls coming from the ocean, etc. So what is the need for this industrialization, or creating these so many industries? Better live a self-sufficient life, a Krishna conscious life, and everything will be provided for, including opulences. So I end here, and almost the time is up. So I invite any questions or discussions. Okay, if there is none, we can stop here.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was a very nice class, and this verse is really very rich. I mean, it makes us look at nature and the riches it holds, and the way we can appreciate Krishna's mercy coming to us in so many ways. So, yeah, of course, humans have created a lot of havoc because of industrialization, and the rivers have become so polluted, and the environment is very on the collapse, everything. But thank you very much. Kunti Devi is so, I mean, she's extending so nicely her observation of all these things as coming from Krishna and protected by Lord. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. When you were saying that, something came to my mind. The current situation we are in about the pandemic coronavirus situation, that is also a result of exploiting nature.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.